All right, a couple of things I want us to be paying attention to when we're reading through this. How many of you have heard that the law is burdensome or something along those lines?
Can't do it.
Can't do it. Yeah, we've probably all heard something like that, right? Okay, it's hard, it's burdensome, we don't like to do it.
You can't keep the law.
We can't do it, so I try.
Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of want to focus on it's hard and it's not something that we would enjoy to do. It's not enjoyable to keep the law. Okay, so keep track of how many times he uses terms like I delight, I rejoice, I love the law. Okay? All right. Aleph.
How happy are those whose way of life is blameless, who live by the Torah of Yahweh. How happy are those who observe his instruction, who seek him wholeheartedly. They do nothing wrong, but live by his ways. You lay down your precepts for us to observe with care. May my ways be steady in observing your laws. Then I will not be put to shame, since I will have fixed my sight on all your mitzvot. I thank you with a sincere heart as I learn your righteous ruling. I will observe your laws. Don't completely abandon me.
Read your verse 2 again.
Verse 2, how happy are those who observe his instruction, who seek him wholeheartedly.
Sounds burdensome, doesn't it? How happy.
Oh, yeah.
How happy. Right? So, do we walk around with long faces because we have to keep his laws?
No.
Oh. Heaven help us if we do. Faith.
How can a young man keep his way pure? By living according to your word. I seek you with all my heart. Do not let me stray from your commands. I have hidden your word in my heart, that I might not sin against you. Praise be to you, O Lord, who teach me your decrees. With my lips I recount all the laws that come from your mouth. I rejoice in following your statutes, as one rejoices in great riches. I meditate on your precepts and consider your ways. I delight in your decrees. I will not neglect your word.
So twice right there in verse 14 and again in verse 16. Rejoice and I delight. And verse 9 is really fascinating. Sometimes people will say, and I suppose years ago I would have said it also, well, how do I live a righteous life? What does that look like? What does God want from me? What does verse 9 say? How can a young man keep his way pure? What's the answer?
By living according to the word.
Man, it's simple. Why do we make it so hard? It's so simple. How do we keep our way pure? By living according to his word. Is that word debar there or?
Yes. Yes. Oh no! Wait, the first one. I don't remember.
It doesn't matter. Okay. Remember, I'm simple. It didn't go there. Okay, so rejoice, delight. Gimel.
Deal bountifully with your servant, that I may live and keep your word. Open my eyes that I may see wondrous things from your law. I am a stranger in the earth. Do not hide your commandments from me. My soul breaks with longing for your judgments at all times. You rebuke the proud, the cursed, who stray from your commandments. Remove from me reproach and contempt, for I have kept your testimonies. Princes also sit and speak against me, but your servant meditates on your statutes. Your testimonies also are my delight and my counselors.
There it is again. There's delight. Still sounds burdensome. Read your verse 17 again. The very first one.
Deal bountifully with your servant, that I may live and keep your word.
So, by allowing us to keep his word, is him dealing bountifully with us. That's an interesting picture. I think sometimes we kind of read through these things, we just gloss over it, and we don't really think about what we're actually reading. I know I'm guilty of that. That's why I wanted to slow down very specifically and take a look at this psalm. Because this is not a psalm that I would spend a lot of time just stopping and reading through. Because it's lengthy. I don't want to devote 7 minutes to read through an entire book of the Bible, or an entire chapter of the Bible. Shame on me, right? Now, obviously, I'm being facetious, but how often do we look at that? Oh, I've got 3 minutes to read right now. I'm going to sit on my break or whatever and read. I'm not going to go to Psalm 119. So let's spend some time here. Dalit.
My being has been clinging to the dust. Revive me according to your word. I have recounted my ways, and you answered me. Teach me your laws. Make me understand the way of your orders, that I might meditate on your wonders. My being has wept from grief. Strengthen me according to your word. Remove from me the way of falsehood, and favor me with your Torah. I have chosen the way of truth. Your right rulings I have held level. I have clung to your witnesses. O Yahweh, do not put me to shame. I run the way of your commands, for you enlarge my heart.
So 2 things here. Verse 29, keep me from the way of deceit. The particular version I'm looking at here says, grant me your law graciously. Graciously, grant me your law. And then the last verse there, 32, I run in the path of your commandments. Yours says, for you have enlarged.
Yeah, for you enlarge my heart.
You enlarge my heart. This version renders it as, for you have set me free.
Interesting.
Isn't that a totally different look? You've set me free to run in your commandments.
Oh.
That's a cool picture.
I think many of us who, try to keep the Torah, we see the freedom in it.
Yeah.
Because it eliminates so many choices that people are faced with.
Yeah.
I have the freedom to not worry about that. That's not a choice.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it really does.
Right.
Yeah.
That part you were just saying how it's so different than what we perceive it to be. We think that Torah living or following the law, like most Christians would say, that's very burdensome and that's legalistic and all these other things.
Right?
Reminds me of my counseling classes though, how when people come to you, they have all these problems, they have all these burdens, they have all this just stuff, and it's all very, very negative. And then your job is to turn it around and say, how can we make this a positive? How can we see this in a different light, And that's kind of what they're doing with the word in that one way. Like everything else in Christianity tends to be pretty positive, pretty good, until they get to the law. And then suddenly, bad, 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 bad.
Yeah.
But all of God's things are good, And so if we can do like David is doing here and turn that around and be able to see it with eyes that are just running after him in a whole different way,
Yeah.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, if we could change our mindset to one of his laws are delightful, they're not burdensome, they're for my instruction, they're for my life, they are life-giving. We would do well to see him that way.
Okay.
Hey.
Teach me, O Yahweh, the way of your laws, and I observe it to the end. Make me understand that I might observe your Torah and guard it with all my heart. Make me walk in the path of your commands, for I have delighted in it. Incline my heart to your witnesses, and not to my own gain. Turn away my eyes from looking at falsehood, and revive me in your way. Establish your word to your servant, which leads to the fear of you. Turn away my reproach, which I dread, for your right rulings are good. See, I have longed for your orders. Revive me in your righteousness.
Your laws are good, verse 39. Verse 38. So it talks about fear here. We actually just had this conversation with our children yesterday or a couple days ago, I don't know. What's a good definition of fear? Fear of the Almighty.
Respect?
Yeah, respect,
Holy reverence.
awe, a holy reverence. It's not recoiled in fear because we're afraid. Now, it can be that, depending on how we're living our life, right? There comes a time where maybe you should be afraid. But if we're living a life that's pleasing to Him, the fear is respect, which is what causes us to want to live our life that way, out of respect, out of love, out of admiration, adoration to the lawgiver, to our King, because we know that His laws are good. They're life-giving. If the Scripture is true that says that His thoughts toward us are good continually, then His law can't be anything but that, can it?
Johnny, I have a really, I know the very place where I finally understood that in my own life. It was at a pond in Texas behind a dorm, and Yahweh was asking me to do something that I didn't want to do, but I finally understood, and I was actually afraid not to do what He was asking me to do, because I knew that that would be the very best thing for me and for everybody that I have. So I'll never forget that pond where I understood what the fear of Yahweh is. It's being afraid not to do His will.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Also in that section, there's another, for I delight in them statement.
35.
That's right.
My version of verse 37 says, turn my eyes away from worthless things. And I really like that, because what things are of worth, really of worth to us, that we shouldn't be keeping our eyes on. Anything else we should be turning away from.
We're inundated with the worthless.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys have things that you want to bring out, do not hesitate to do so. Vav?
Let your mercies come to me, or let your mercies come also to me, O Lord, your salvation according to your word. So shall I have an answer for him who reproaches me. For I trust in your word, and take not the word of truth utterly out of my mouth. For I have hoped in your ordinances. So shall I keep your law continually, forever and ever. And I will walk at liberty, for I seek your precepts. I will speak of your testimonies also before kings, and will not be ashamed. And I will delight myself in your commandments, which I love. My hands also I will lift up to your commandments, which I love. And I will meditate on your statutes.
45. I will walk in liberty. What is liberty? What's a synonym for liberty?
Freedom.
Freedom. So I could say, without stretching, I will walk in freedom because I have sought your precepts. And then in 47, we have another I will delight statement. 48 is an interesting picture. I will reach out my hands for your commandments, which I love.
I like the thought of meditating on his law too. That's what the end of mine says in 48.
Yep.
Because, I think maybe sometimes passages don't really make sense to us, and we're like, I wonder why he wants that from me. Why does he want me to not do this or do this? And meditating on it is good, because you really just bathe yourself in it and let it soak in. And I think eventually you get a better understanding when you meditate on something versus you just dismiss it or whatever.
Yeah, a fleeting thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, really devoting some mental energy
Mhm.
to considering.
I certainly hope that my children want to meditate on things that I teach them. You know, not that I have the wisdom that a father has, but I'm just saying that honors me when I say something, I teach them something, and they really think about it.
Yeah.
You know, so we should do the same with our Father.
I went through this psalm with a Sunday church. It was just a Facebook thing. A bunch of ladies were invited to participate, and so I thought, well, I'll go through it and I'll do it. And at first I was like, oh man, there's so much I want to say. Where's the line? You know, what I should and shouldn't say. And when I read verse 46, I will speak of your statutes before kings and will not be put to shame. I was like, well, okay, I guess I better speak. So from then on, like, I had a lot of different comments on it, but not just commenting about what it said here, but then the Father would take me to another portion of Scripture, and then another portion of Scripture, and He would take me clear to the end of how it all tied together. And I just hoped that somebody would, you know, read it and think, wow, that's really good, or wow, I never thought about that before, because that's what He was doing for me even, was making me stop and say, wow, I've never made that connection before. And it's all just in this chapter, so much about his law, but it connects through all of Scripture.
And how many of us can truly say, I'm reaching out my hands for your commandments. Ooh, give me more commands, God. Give me more commands. You know, that's a hard thing to say, because sometimes, you know, it either takes a little bit of risk to do them because it's not culturally acceptable, or it's a sacrifice, you know. But to understand how good those commandments are for us and how much of a protective covering they put over us. I mean, when this COVID thing had started dying down and we all came together for YHWH, we did kind of an informal survey, and almost no one's family was really touched by it. Like, everybody was good. Whereas I know a lot of people on the outside of this movement, they were not doing well at all, you know, and there's just been so much upheaval in people's lives and whatnot. And I think a lot of it is right here. You know, we have chosen to love His commandments, even though it was hard. And He's like, okay, I'm going to give you an extra measure of my grace during this time, just because I want to, because I can, you know?
So we're actually going to read in this, I'll get you a second. In this, later on, we're going to read a verse that pertains exactly to what you just said.
Another thing too, right now, you've got the fringe group that says, defund the police. But the majority of Americans are like, no, we need the law. We need the law keepers.
Right.
So they might not think they have to obey the law here, but they want the law.
Yeah.
That's the majority.
Yeah, that's a good point. Who did I get, Zion?
Me.
Okay.
Remember the words of your servant, upon which you have caused me to hope. This is my comfort in my affliction. For your word has given me life. The proud have me in great derision. Yet I do not turn aside from your law. I remembered your judgments of old, O Lord, and have comforted myself. Indignation has taken hold of me because of the wicked who forsake your law. Your statutes have been my songs in the house of my pilgrimage. I remember your name in the night, O Lord. I keep your law. This has become mine because I kept your precepts.
Verse 50, your word has given me life. Again, that's not burdensome. That is life-giving.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
54 was a verse that really, really stuck out to me. Your statutes have been my songs in the house where I live. I think yours says in the house of my pilgrimage. But your statutes have been my songs. Your laws have been my songs. Your decrees have been my songs. Is that what I'm singing about? I mean, do I exude praise based on that? And maybe it stuck out to me because I do sing, lead people in worship. I don't know, but that one really challenged me. Like, what is my life's song? Is it His commandments? His loving guidance to us? It should be. And shame on me when I don't.
It really comes down to trust. Trusting Him. You know, even when you don't want to or you don't understand an instruction from Him. Because we trust Him, we know, okay, even if I don't understand, I'm going to obey this.
Yep. I just had this conversation with one of my boys. That same thing. You don't need to know why. You just need to go do what I just told you to do. We don't always need to know exactly why. Not always.
Sometimes we can't really know why at that moment, you know. We're not ready to know why just yet. So just do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Just do, right?
Yeah.
Just do. Het.
The Lord is my portion. I promised to obey your words. I sought your favor with my whole heart. Be merciful to me according to your word. I considered my ways and turned my steps to your statutes. I will hurry and not delay to obey your commandments. The ropes of the wicked bind me, but I won't forget your Torah. At midnight I will rise to give thanks to you because of your righteous ordinances. I am a friend of all those who fear you, of those who observe your precepts. The earth is full of your loving kindness, Lord. Teach me your statutes.
Other places in the Psalms, it talks about rising at midnight or just midnight in general and contemplating the things of the Almighty. What do you think it is about that? What do you think it is? Was midnight one of the watches of the day, or because there are certain times that they would pray? Was midnight one of those times? Mm-hmm. Okay, it was like a 3-6-9 kind of thing.
Right.
I just wondered. Culturally, I wondered why at midnight. Was it just what was going on in his life? Or?
I don't know, I was kind of just thinking, is it just I can't sleep, and I just
So I'm just going to get up and praise.
get up and praise you, you know.
Well, in some ways, if we consider 6, the first hour, 6 a.m., 6 p.m. would be the first hour of the darkness. 12 is only halfway through. We've got a whole nother 6 hours of the darkness cycle. I'm in definite.
In the midst of darkness. And I'm still going to praise. Even if that's not right, that's a good one.
I liked 63. It just whether it's implying that the person, the writer, surrounds himself with people, like-minded people, or just simply whoever this person meets that is like-minded. I consider that one a companion to me, a friend, one that sticks close.
And those would be good people to make friends of, right? The ones who are fearing, because there's a scripture that says that bad company corrupts good morals. Right? I don't know where it's written at, but I know it's there. So, on the flip side, if we surround ourselves with those who fear the Lord, if we walk with the wise, if you will, I think that might also be a scripture. If you walk with the wise, you will become wise yourself.
You have dealt well with your servant, O Lord, according to your word. Teach me good judgment and knowledge, for I believe in your commandments. Before I was afflicted, I went astray, but now I keep your word. You are good and do good. Teach me your statutes. The insolent smear me with lies, but with my whole heart I keep your precepts. Their heart is unfeeling like fat, but I delight in your law. It is good for me that I was afflicted, that I might learn your statutes. The law of your mouth is better to me than thousands of gold and silver pieces.
67. Before I was afflicted, I went astray, but now I observe your word. Can anyone in here, testimony was one of the words that we talked about in this. Can anyone testify that that's true? Before I was afflicted, I went astray, now I observe your word. I will give you a very real example. I went astray from my marriage covenant to my wife, walked away from the Father. He smote me. I ended up in the hospital, having emergency surgery. There's not a doubt in my mind that that's what was going on. Did he do that to bring me back to his word, to walking in his statutes? Out of his loving kindness, did he smite me to bring me back?
Well, not only that, there are consequences to sin, and probably most of us are here because we either see that in our own lives firsthand, or we've seen it in other people's lives, and we know it proves true.
Yeah.
So, most of us are probably somewhere in our lives we've had to learn the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah. Young people, I pray you don't have to learn things the hard way.
Yeah.
Verse 70 is another I delight in your law statement. I don't know how many we're up to now, but it's more than 3 or 4.
I got 7. If you consider 14 rejoice one.
Yeah, I probably would. Yod.
Your hands have made me and fashioned me. Give me understanding that I may learn your commandments. Those who fear you will be glad when they see me, because I have hoped in your word. I know, O Lord, that your judgments are right, and that in faithfulness you have afflicted me. Let, I pray, your merciful kindness be for my comfort. According to your word, to your servant, let your tender mercies come to me, that I may live. For your law is my delight. Let the proud be ashamed, for they treat me wrongfully with falsehood. But I will meditate on your precepts. Let those who fear you turn to me. Let those who know of your testimonies. Let my heart be blameless regarding your statutes, that I may not be ashamed.
77, that makes 8. Your law is my delight. Kaf.
My soul faints for your salvation. I hope in your word. My eyes fail for your word. I say, when will you comfort me? For I have become a wineskin in the smoke. I don't forget your statutes. How many are the days of your servant? When will you execute judgment on those who persecute me? The proud have dug pits for me, contrary to your Torah. All of your commandments are faithful. They persecute me wrongfully. Help me. They had almost wiped me from the earth, but I didn't forsake your precepts. Preserve my life according to your loving kindness, so I will obey the statutes of your mouth.
It didn't matter what he was going through, what the people around him were doing to him, how he was being persecuted. They're trying to dug pits. They're trying to ruin him in his life. He was not going to let any of those circumstances cause him to forsake the precepts of the Lord. Melody, what you shared earlier, there might be some ugly things coming down the pipe. Who knows? In this country, in this world. Are we going to sell out wholehearted devotion, adhering to the laws of the Lord? It'll be that stark contrast like David pointed out up here. You are either very much against the darkness, or you just kind of fade away. Which are we going to win? Which camp will we be in?
You know, that last section that was read too is 75, where it says, my version says, "In faithfulness you have afflicted me." And I just had the note there that it sounds like a contradiction, but when there's faithfulness in affliction, that's like a parent lovingly disciplining a child.
Yes.
It's not, I get pleasure out of hurting you. This is a healthy and a productive and a good thing that you can trust in. That will be for my ultimate good.
Forever, O Lord, your word is settled in heaven. Your faithfulness endures to all generations. You establish the earth and it abides. They continue this day according to your ordinances, for all are your servants. Unless your law had been my delight, I would then have perished in my affliction. I will never forget your precepts, for by them you have given me life. I am yours, save me, for I have sought your precepts. The wicked wait for me to destroy me, but I will consider your testimonies. I have seen the consummation of all perfection, but your commandment is exceedingly broad.
Verse 92, unless your law had been my delight, I would have perished in my affliction. So add that to the list.
Well, and you had said from verse 50 that the word is life-giving. I see that again in 88 and now in 93 too. He revives.
Yes. Revive is another word that's used a few times through this. Verse 96, again, the particular version I'm looking at here. I have seen a limit to all perfection, but your commands are boundless. Your commands just go on and on and on. There's no end to them. Going back up to verse 89, your word is settled in heaven forever. It's permanent.
Oh, how I love your law. I meditate on it all day long. Your commands are always with me and make me wiser than my enemies. I have more insight than all my teachers, for I meditate on your statutes. I have more understanding than the elders, for I obey your precepts. I have kept my feet from every evil path, so that I might obey your word. I have not departed from your laws, for you yourself have taught me. How sweet are your words to my taste, sweeter than honey to my mouth. I gain understanding from your precepts, therefore I hate every wrong path.
I get understanding through your precepts. There's a scripture in Deuteronomy, or maybe it's Leviticus, that talks about how the nations around the Israelites will know that they're wise. How wise is this nation that has the commandments? I should have wrote it down. That's kind of a paraphrase of what it says, though. The nations around you will see that you are wise and understanding. You're a wise and understanding nation because you follow these judgments. In verse 97, how I love your law. It burdens me all day long. No, it's my meditation all day. Commandments make me wise. Give me understanding. Noon?
Either.
Noon?
Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. I have sworn and confirmed that I will keep your righteous judgments. I am afflicted very much. Revive me, O Lord, according to your word. Accept, I pray, the freewill offerings of my mouth, O Lord, and teach me your judgments. My life is continually in my hand, yet I do not forget your law. The wicked have laid a snare for me, yet I have not strayed from your precepts. Your testimonies I have taken as a heritage forever, for they are the rejoicing of my heart. I have inclined my heart to perform your statutes forever to the very end.
The joy of my heart. Verse 111. And 107 again uses that word revive.
Yeah, you got that.
I think, verse 112, I've inclined my heart to do your laws. I think it shows that there is a measure of choice on our part.
Yeah.
We have to make the choice to obey. Now, I think as you grow in your faith, it gets easier to choose that, of course, but there's still a choice, We have a choice. We don't have to do what he says. You might not like the
Consequences of it, yeah. Especially after reading this and seeing how life-giving
Right.
doing what he says can be. Stomach.
I have hated doubting thoughts, but I love your Torah. You are my hiding place and my shield. I have waited for your word. Turn away from me, you evildoers, for I observe the commands of my Elohim. Support me according to your word, that I might live, and put me not to shame because my expectation. Sustain me that I might be saved, and always look to your laws. You have made light of all those who stray from your laws. For falsehood is their deceit. You have made to cease all the wrong of the earth like dross. Therefore I have loved your witnesses. My flesh has trembled for fear of you, and I am in awe of your right rulings.
So there may be a different kind of fear. There's that like actual fear. Mine renders that scripture as my flesh trembles for fear of you. I am afraid of your judgments or your right rulings. If you look at that in light of what we know we deserve, like I also would be afraid of his judgments and his right rulings if I knew that I was going to get what I actually deserved. Had Messiah not paid that price, I would tremble. If I was in my right mind, I would tremble.
My version of, and translation of 113 makes it sound like the writers. This translation has it more, I hate those who are double-minded, so it includes others. But I guess really, either way, double-mindedness does not get anyone anywhere.
Right.
And his law will get you there.
Yeah, mine renders it, I hate double-minded men, but I love your law. Ian.
I have done justice and righteousness. Do not leave me to my oppressors, but surety for your servant for good. Do not let the proud oppress me. My eyes fail from seeking your salvation and your righteous word. Deal with your servant according to your mercy, and teach me your statutes. I am your servant.
give me understanding that I may know your testimonies. It is time for you to act, O Lord, for they have regarded your law as void. Therefore I love your commandments more than gold, yes, than fine gold. Therefore all your precepts concerning all things I consider to be right. I hate every false way.
In verse 124, is teaching us his statutes, him dealing with us according to his loving kindness? Deal with your servant according to your loving kindness. Teach me your statutes. Can we flip that around to say, teach me your statutes and deal with me according to your loving kindness? Like that's how he deals with us lovingly.
Yeah.
By teaching us his statutes.
Yeah. Amen.
Give me understanding in verse 125. Again, what makes us wise? How does a young man purify his way? By knowing the word. Pay.
Testimonies are wonderful, therefore my soul keeps them. The entrance of your words give light. It gives understanding to the simple. I opened my mouth and panted, for I long for your commandments. Look upon me and be merciful to me, as your custom is toward those who love your name. Direct my steps by your word, and let no iniquity have dominion over me. Redeem me from the oppression of man, that I may keep your precepts. Make your face shine upon your servant, and teach them your statutes. Rivers of water run down from my eyes, because men do not keep your law.
It's funny, the end of iron and the end of pay, both are kind of the same type of thing, where the end of iron is saying that, I have hated every false way, and the end of pay is saying, I'm saddened because they do not guard your Torah. So both of those, we should be affected by what we see around us when we see people who disregard the commands. We should hate that. We should be hurt by that. We should be saddened that they don't guard his Torah. They don't see it.
Yeah.
It's not just whatever, but it's more like that hurts.
It seems like now more than ever. I mean, evil is good and good is evil according to the world.
Yeah.
And I do feel so sad for Yahweh, their creator, and they totally disregard him.
Yeah. And if verse 1, I'm going to back up to verse 126. If that was true then, when this was written, it is time to act, Yahweh, because they break your law. How much more so now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How much more accountable?
Mm. And the psalmist must have been sold out, because he wouldn't be bothered about those breaking. Verse 136, where it says, streams of tears run down my eyes because they don't observe your law. If he wasn't sold out to keeping these laws himself, he wouldn't really be too concerned if somebody else didn't, right?
Well, and if our righteous souls within us aren't afflicted at seeing the consequences of some of these violations of Torah, then we really need to check ourselves.
Amen. That's true. Yeah, if we're not bothered, because the Spirit should well up inside of us, right? Like, that is against my word.
And it's really, that's where I think it does matter who you hang out with. I mean, I'm not saying never come in contact with non-believers. I'm just saying,
right.
It's easy to start getting, if you hang around with the wrong people, it's easy to start saying, well, just love, just love. And I don't know,
give Sadi to
Sadi.
you?
Righteous are you, O Yahweh, and upright are your judgments. You have commanded your testimonies in righteousness and exceeding faithfulness. My zeal has consumed me, because my adversaries have forgotten your words. Your word is very pure, therefore your servant loves it. I am small and despised, yet I do not forget your precepts. Your righteousness is as everlasting righteousness, and your law is truth. Trouble and anguish have come upon me, yet your commandments are my delight. Your testimonies are righteous forever. Give me understanding that I may live.
One 42 says, your Torah is truth. And Yeshua said, he's the truth.
Yeah.
He also,
and he's the Word made flesh.
Yeshua also prayed in, I want to say John 17:17. Is that right, Mike? Your word, your word is truth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. John 17 is the
Is it? Yeah. I think it's John 17:17. So, is he using that synonymous? Your law is truth, your word is truth?
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, I absolutely think so.
John 8:32 confirms that. If you want to turn to 8:32.
Yeah, what's that say? Go ahead and read it.
Hang on just a second. 8:32 says, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And it's, yeah, that was Yeshua.
Can you see John 17:17? See if that's,
Debbie's got it.
is that it? It says that.
Your word is truth.
Sanctify them by your truth, your word is truth, right?
They do not belong to the world, just as I do not belong to the world. Set them apart for holiness by means of the truth. Your word is truth.
Yeah.
How much in here is Yeshua? You know, all of those life-giving and reviving ones. He says, I'm come that they may have life.
And life what?
Abundantly.
Abundantly.
Full of delight.
Yeah.
And we are to worship in spirit and in truth. You know, not just in spirit, but we're to have that truth, that law, that instruction mixed together with the spirit and the grace.
That's who he's looking for. Worshippers who will worship like that.
If you look in Revelation, where it talks about the ones that the dragon is enraged with, and the ones who overcome. Well, how do they overcome? The dragon is enraged with those, first of all, who keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus. And that's the same one who have the power to overcome, the ones who keep the commandments of the Almighty and have the testimony of Yeshua. I can't prove this, but I think that that's spirit and truth. I think spirit is the testimony of Yeshua. Truth is the word. Your word is truth. I think it's both. I think you're right. I think it's both. Cough. Poof.
Pray with all my heart. Answer me, Lord. I will obey your decrees. I cry out to you, rescue me, that I may obey your laws. I rise early before the sun is up. I cry out for help and put my hope in your words. I stay awake through the night, thinking about your promise. In your faithful love, O Lord, hear my cry. Let me be revived by following your regulations. Lawless people are coming to attack me. They live far from your instructions. But you are near, O Lord, and all your commands are true. I have known from my earliest days that your laws will last forever.
149. Revive me according to your ordinances. This guy had a lot of sleepless nights. He must have taken a lot of naps.
What does your 149 say?
Hear my voice according to your loving kindness. Revive me, Yahweh, according to your ordinances. Is yours different than that?
It says, preserve my life according to your laws.
As opposed to revive. quicken me according to thy judgment. Quicken, chaya is the word there. It's to live, to revive, to keep alive. Okay. Did I give rage to anyone, or did that where I said I would pick up?
That's where you
Pick up.
Okay. Consider my affliction and deliver me, for I don't forget your law. Plead my cause and redeem me. Revive me according to your promise. Salvation is far from the wicked, for they don't seek your statutes. Great are your tender mercies, Yahweh. Revive me according to your ordinances. Many are my persecutors and my adversaries. I have not swerved from your testimonies. I look at the faithless with loathing, because they don't observe your word. Consider how I love your precepts. Revive me, Lord, according to your loving kindness. All of your words are truth. Every one of your righteous ordinances endures forever. 3 times in that section.
Yeah.
Revive.
According to your word, your ordinances, your
Loving kindness, yeah. Princes have persecuted me without a cause, but my heart stands in awe of your words. I rejoice at your word as one who finds great plunder. I hate and abhor falsehood. I love your law. 7 times a day I praise you because of your righteous ordinances. Those who love your law have great peace. Nothing causes them to stumble. I have hoped for your salvation, Yahweh. I have done your commandments. My soul has observed your testimonies, and I love them exceedingly. I have obeyed your precepts and your testimonies, for all my ways are before you. So 161, that idea of my heart stands in awe of your words. There's a song that says, stand in awe and worship. Lift your hands and worship, or lift your voice and worship. Come adore the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords.
You know, the second half of the chapter seems like it's gone more from delight to I love. I kind of caught a lot of loves, but I didn't notate them.
You're right. You're right. So Melody, you shared earlier about people on the outside. I use that term, for lack of a better term. People on the outside who were not faring so well with the whole COVID thing, but how people who observe the law, keep the law, appreciate the law, is maybe a better way to say it. Great peace have those who love your law. There's a peace that comes from knowing that I want to please the Father. Nothing causes them to stumble.
And I mean, at bare minimum, these things are stuff we can stand on. Like, it's talking constantly about how he was persecuted, how he had all this adversary, all this pain. And we know that he did. David went through so much before he became king, and even afterwards. And, you know, he's our example, really. And so, like, the way that he prays against his enemies, we can do that. That's something that is biblical. And the way he's like, Lord, remember me. I have done this. I have followed your Torah, you know. And so many times we just kind of pray these, help me, Lord, help me. But we have a rock to cling to. We have a lifeboat to cling to. And I think it would give us a lot more peace sometimes in our situation if we remember that we can stand on this word. You know, because when you really look at the word, you get all this assurance from it. But so many times we're caught up in the typical Christian way of doing things, which is to just randomly pray things, you know, and pray for me, and we're not standing on the word like we should be. I'm so preaching to myself right now. And, you know, we need to just constantly be in there when there's a problem, because there's so much hope in here.
It's true. And he has said that at different points throughout this chapter. It's my hope. Last section. Let my cry come before you, Yahweh. Give me understanding according to your word. Let my supplication come before you. Deliver me according to your word. Let my lips utter praise, because you teach me your statutes. Let my tongue sing of your word, for all your commandments are righteousness. Let your hand be ready to help me, for I have chosen your precepts. I have longed for your salvation, O Lord. Your law is my delight. Let my soul live that I may praise you. Let your laws, ordinances, help me. I've gone astray like a lost sheep. Seek your servant, for I don't forget your commandments. So 174, that last, your law is my delight. 12 times in just that one chapter where it says, your law is my delight. So next time you hear somebody say that the law is hard, burdensome, tell them that they should remove the Psalms from the Bible because it's irrelevant. Because the author here clearly did not feel that way. He took great delight in the law.
That's why where we came from, that Yeshua says you would have to remove the law and the prophet. And this comes from hopefully a prophet. But if you're going to change, if the law has changed, you're going to have to throw out the law and the prophet. And you can't. You just can't. And Christianity's thrown out the law, but they want to keep the prophets. You know, you won't hear any Christian say, well, we've thrown out the prophets too.
Yeah.
They'll say the law has changed and we don't have to keep, we don't have to keep the pork and shellfish and all those. We've thrown those out, but we're keeping the prophets. But the prophets proclaim the law.
That's all the prophets ever did.
That's all the prophets ever did.
It's true.
The prophets proclaim the law. So you're going to have to throw them both out.
Yep.
If you're going to throw out any or change any.
Christians.
All right. Josiah, you want to come give like a quick summary, since I know you guys are kind of doing some Psalm 119 stuff at your house? No? He's like, I think I'm sick to my stomach. All right. Any final thoughts? I've given you all my thoughts and then some.
I have a question. Maybe this is a Hebrew question.
Thank you for looking over there.
I know this is, your CrossFit type of psalm. So does that basically mean every verse within those sections starts with that letter?
Yeah, right.
In the Hebrew, every verse.
And there are certain prefixes we know generally that are going to tell us, they're going to indicate that it's what type of verb. Aleph and Tav particularly are first person and third person verbs. So I or he, she. Vav is going to start so or and. Some things like that are just an indicator. Some of them, though, I don't know how they can get there. Because I don't know Hebrew.
Well, that's what I was thinking, is that you probably have to really know Hebrew really well to truly appreciate the artistry in this song.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to be able to articulate the truths that the psalmist is saying here, but to write it in that form.
Yeah.
And have those restrictions placed upon yourself. Because I've done that in music composition before, just for the heck of it, you place restrictions on yourself. I'm going to write this, and I'm only going to do this and this and this, and never do this, and see what I come up with. It's kind of fun,
but difficult.
It's very difficult, and it doesn't necessarily produce good music.
Well, if you're an artist, it does.
It just depends. I'm just saying, I trusted this. You know, if you really knew Hebrew, you can look at this and study this beauty and just say,
Right.
this is divine.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this.
Yep.
You know.
Well, I'm sure that this psalmist, if it was David, I don't know who wrote it, but I'm sure that pleased the Father, because, I mean, just any of us who is a parent knows that if our children delight in our program,
Right.
they're a team player, they are, you know, positive and enthusiastic, what a blessing.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, the other thing that this automatically makes me think of is Exodus 25, where he says, I'm going to give you the pattern to make the tabernacle, make it exactly as the pattern. So the whole point of the tabernacle is a shadow, or is a picture, a quick shot of what is in the heavenlies. So our lives are to be as well. Yeah, well, he's so two-faced. He's such a hypocrite, you know? He's a fallen guy. He's trying to be the pattern. And that is what the psalmist is saying here. I think that's what we have to remember when we're looking at, well, no one was able to keep, and how I love to keep. How do I put those two together is to just remember, he called me to be a pattern, and it's because of his covering over me that I can even be close to that. You know, ultimately, so that they might get a glimpse, so they might see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven.
Right.
And because of Yeshua, we have the right to become children of God. And so if we're his children, I mean, I just know that the way I look at it with my children, I want team players. I mean, if they have to get punished if they do wrong. But that's not the point. The point is, they're part of the family.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're done earlier than we normally are.